It's 5 o'clock in the Suiston megalopolis, and here's what's making news this hour.
I'm Adam Marlborough. I know that by now there is no longer any need to let you know the top story at 5 o'clock on this terrifying afternoon in Suiston. The threat not just to Suiston, but to the world is quite real and entirely unprecedented. The best we can do here at WRAT is to pass on to you who are listening, with the desperation that we share, any views that we can of the struggle humanity is putting up against the Zulu 11 menace. Whether it's a local fight to keep a few collected citizens alive in a damaged department store, or a rapidly flooding sports stadium, or a glimpse of what the Global Meteorological Bureau are attempting to do on our behalf, we will continue to bring it to you.
And as our WRAT field staff continue to make their own mark on this local and global emergency, we will bring you the latest on their progress.
The most critical of these at the moment is Ann Kelso's heroic infiltration of the control headquarters of the fanatical apostles of the apocalypse, who appear to be the ones primarily responsible for bringing us to this very brink of annihilation. As soon as we receive further word from Ann, we'll open a direct channel and put her on the air live.
In the meantime, since the weather is of course foremost on people's minds, we will turn to WRAT's meteorologist Gertrude Schweger for her increasingly important update on Zulu 11's progress. I understand that she has made further contact with some of the leading meteorological researchers in the Global Bureau, so that we can receive the benefit of their combined perspectives. Gertrude, we're very eager to hear what they have to say.
This is WRAT meteorologist Gertrude Schweger. Adam, I also am most interested in the views of the three distinguished weather experts who have agreed to discuss the current global crisis with us live. It is an almost unheard of event when even two such experienced and knowledgeable leaders get together to tackle a single issue, and the fact that we have three of them here only serves to underline the severity of our current situation. I know that you have the ability to simulcast this discussion to our sister stations across the globe, and I would suggest that now is the time for this. The world needs to hear what these men have to say, as we know now that all are battling what could be the ultimate weather challenge together.
The emergency override is now active, Gertrude. Within 10 seconds, all stations in our worldwide network that are still operating will patch through our signal live. And to all our sister stations and their listeners, we thank you for your patience and hope the following broadcast will give you perspective on the crisis we're all facing.
Thank you, Adam. I would first like to introduce you to the only one of the three experts whom we have not already talked to this afternoon, Dr. Hugh Carson of the Global Bureau. Dr. Carson is the world's foremost advanced storm modeling expert and is connecting with us from the Bureau's Storm Center in London, England. Welcome, Dr. Carson.
Thank you, Gertrude. I understand you've been able to draw our former Bureau Chief, Dr. Alex Plesikov, out of retirement for this call. Alex, are you there?
Indeed I am, Hugh. Thanks once again to WRAT's Katerina Korotkaya, who almost literally dropped in on us here at Shelburne Island earlier today. And I might add, set up the call from this end before running off to help with a serious leak that has developed here in our now fully submerged resort.
And we all have our own stories of what challenges we're facing in this crisis. Here in England, the storm is only rattling our windows, but it's already gusting to over 100 kilometers an hour, and we expect the real front to reach us in less than 45 minutes.
Gentlemen, I don't want to interrupt, but I feel it is important for our listeners to know we also have with us Dr. Jean Devereaux of the Bureau's Quebec office, our top weather phenomenon specialist. Dr. Devereaux is once again connecting from Montreal. Welcome, Dr. Devereaux.
I would say that I'd prefer to be meeting with my distinguished colleagues under less challenging circumstances. Gentlemen, it is good to know at least that all of us are for the moment applying our not inconsiderable combined knowledge and experience to the present global need.
Applying perhaps, but not yet seeing the fruit of our labours. We've tried several variants for the model parameters I established for Zulu 11 when it first showed signs of anomalous behavior. I want to let you all know first that our model almost instantly predicted that tip 23, then only a minor typhoon, would swell to match the proportions of Zulu 11 to keep the air mass balance across the globe. It was a shocking revelation, and we had to check it 3 times before convincing ourselves the conclusions were sound. We informed all our South Pacific and South Asian officers only an hour before tip 23 was transformed.
Dr. Carlson, are you saying that the scale of Zulu 11, enhanced as it appears to be by these rogue satellite pumps, was entirely responsible for what is happening with tip 23?
Correct. Tip 23 needed no artificial pumps or inducements. The planet itself grew tip 23 to match Zulu 11. Earth will maintain its own balance.
It is a lesson I learned many years ago, Gertrude. No matter what we throw at it, our precious planet will find a way to recover. What happens to the ecosystems and all life it supports, that is much less sure.
And it seems clear to me from my latest analysis that at this point, the destruction of the rogue pumping devices that were responsible for creating our present superstorm will be too little too late. The Zulu 11 vortex has created a thermal pump of its own that is disrupting our atmosphere almost as high as the mesospheric layers. I know my colleagues will understand what could happen if that pump really gets a grip.
My models are indicating a similar thing, Jean, which means for our listeners, not only that any control those rogue devices ever had over the storm is completely gone, but that if a fully forged thermal connection is formed into the mesosphere, we are going to start losing atmospheric oxygen at an alarming rate, and that the surface temperature will begin to plummet. All this could happen in a matter of minutes. I'm sorry to say, we're truly on the threshold of a potential extinction of life as we know it.
And I will repeat my earlier comment, gentlemen. You both know how many times while I was bureau chief, there were potentially near-cataclysmic weather events which mysteriously unraveled, sometimes at the last moment, and the world was none the wiser. Something caused the system to restore itself, whether you choose to call it Gaia or God, or simply nature. It is an unpredictable yet awesome force. Do not underestimate its power.
Is it not also true, Dr. Devereaux, that although shutting down the rogue satellites can no longer affect the progress of Zulu 11, the reversal of the pumps might offset the storm's growth? If it were possible to force the cold, dry air of the upper stratosphere or the mesosphere downward into the storm's center, would this not potentially cause Zulu 11 to shut down?
I've thought through this one, Gertrude, and I am truly not sure. As Alex says, though, this is just the kind of sudden, unexpected reversal that might give our Earth a way to incapacitate the storm.
Although I've tried to model this inverse pumping, so far I've not seen any truly positive outcomes. Zulu 11 has, from the modeling perspective, the fate of the planet in its grasp. And I'm afraid I've never shared Alex's optimism.
Then let me assure listeners that I am, and always will be, optimistic. That I do believe a reversal could dramatically diffuse this storm and its sister in the Pacific, and that we will find a way to help this happen.
Gentlemen, I know this has been a difficult discussion, and I want to thank you all for your contributions. Each of us will need to take our own interpretations of what you have said and use it to guide our actions in the coming hours. Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Gertrude and Katerina, for drawing together this terrifying yet honest report. And thank you to our sister stations for joining us in this session. We now return you to your own local broadcasts. As our distinguished guests have demonstrated, this is no longer a time for deception or euphemism. For my part, my hopes still rest with Ann Kelso.
And I agree, Adam. If Anne can indeed wrest control of those satellites from the Apostles and find a way to reverse their operation, who knows how Zulu 11 will respond. Perhaps Dr. Plesagov's view is the ultimate in optimism, but I believe if we don't hold on to this hope, we'll all be giving up the fight too easily. And that is not what I'm about. Anne, our thoughts are with you.
At the same time, I believe Dr. Plesakov's words may be pointing in a very different direction. There is always hope, and help may come from an entirely unanticipated source. Be ready.
Located in our hidden warrens far beneath the city, WRAT's squad of intrepid reporters infest the city, unseen and unlooked for. Combined with the magic of video, we are the eyes and ears of this metropolis. And we're here 24/365 for you.
Oliver Zhang has further news on the situation at our two locked-down sports facilities, Causeway Stadium and the Underworld Heap. Oliver?
Lana, it has truly been a fight for survival at Causeway, between the flooding from wind-driven seawater and the fragility of the structure. But Clarice Porter, who has been on site through it all, has apparently been able to help the survivors cope with a very bad situation. She has taken command of the site and is using the spikeball teams to enforce a disciplined, coordinated defense of their refuge. Clarice, can you talk?
Only for a moment, Oliver. We're in a continuous fight for our lives here, trying to shore up the breaches in this inadequate structure and minimize our losses.
Have you managed to get everyone above the ocean surge? Flooding and drowning were your main concerns at your last report.
Everyone we could save, we did. Now the winds are ripping the walls and roof segments apart up here, piece by piece. And we're crowding everyone into the stadium core. It's thick concrete, and so far it's not being breached. But there's so many openings that we've had people literally sucked out right in front of us. And it's impossible to keep everyone as far back from all open access paths. There's so many people here. So we're building makeshift barricades from the debris. Building and rebuilding.
Clarice, part of the superstructure just gave. Some crumbled into an access passage. People are trapped.
Who's in charge? On the scene.
Brash and Gouger. They work real good together.
Let's make sure. Oliver, I've got to go. Make sure the rest of WRT keeps up their fight. It's giving everyone here hope. We'll still be here next time you call. This is Clarice Porter. Still alive at Causeway Stadium.
And I could not have said it better, Clarice. Still alive and fighting to stay so. That is what today is about for all of us. Over at the Heap, John Horton and Banshee have been playing tag team, trying to manage the nearly 200,000 people inside the structure. They have none of Clarice's problems with the immediate effects of the weather, a tribute to the quality of the new arena's construction design. Their challenge is purely a human one, and it is proving to be less than simple. John, what can you tell us?
That we have effectively imposed martial law here, Oliver, immediately following the first death of an innocent citizen at the hands of one not so innocent.
I hope you are not talking about executions, John. Has it got so bad? In such a short time?
Hardly executions, but subdual and confinement. We've turned the locker rooms into secure cells and placed them under guard. Triage is in charge of that task, and he's got a dozen or so very capable and compliant fans to help. All those showing signs of real violence out here are heavily stunned, bound, and locked up. We've about 40 down there right now.
And how are you patrolling the population, maintaining the peace, and identifying troublemakers?
Banshee squads have divided the entire arena into zones. Each zone has its squad supervisors, one player from each team. These squads have recruited from the ranks, so to speak, forming up militia from the general public. Militia's job is to distribute food and watch for trouble. So far, it's working.
How many zones? And what's the size of the militia? I assume they are not armed.
Armed with stun sticks, Oliver. A huge supply kept here for possible riot control in case a match gets out of hand and the crowd goes into a frenzy. Only 20 zones, that's nearly 10,000 people per zone, and about 40 militia per zone. In amongst that militia are the 30 or so security staff who were here at the heap for the match this afternoon.
Well, I wish you luck maintaining relative calm in the face of the storm, John. It's amazing how the weather does not need to be physically threatening to cause such chaos, fear, and panic.
An uneasy peace for now, Oliver. But we're hoping for the best. Keep up the broadcast.
That we will surely do, John. Lana, back to you.
And we also send both Clarice and John all our support in their respective fights, Oliver.
There is never a good time to plan for the future, but our agents at Global Futures are experts in assuming that burden on your behalf. We offer entirely personalized, individually customized, comprehensive insurance for your home, your family, and your life. Our Lifesaver Elite will not only give you the peace of mind you need, but will adapt to changes in the world situation in real time to transform your insurance policy as needed without you having to think about it. A burden off your shoulders, knowing that your life and everything about it are protected in case of any mishap or unexpected circumstance, no matter how large, no matter how small. The Lifesaver Elite has you covered. You owe it to yourself and your family to contact us today. Global Futures, the insurance company with vision.
A very fitting, unsettling mood to that track from Jungle Liana, their latest, Creeper.
At last report, Daniela Gresham was high up on the superstructure of the South Sewerston Supermall, attempting to rescue an SSF sniper. Distressingly, she witnessed some kind of tactical exchange that took down most of the SSF team on site, and indicated that the mayor appeared to have taken over command of the kidnappers. We have Daniela on the line again. Daniela, what's going on now?
Helen, I have with me Emily McAllister, the woman I rescued from the upper dome structure. She filled me in on some of the SSF details. So here's the short version. We're trying to save as many people in this place as we can. I'm pretty sure your last idea was right on the money. This whole operation by the Apostles was planned from the start as a destructive terrorist act. The entire mall was the target, and Mayor Fuller's death is intended as the trigger to raise the profile of this event, to force worldwide attention.
Hold on a second, Daniela. I thought you'd seen the mayor giving orders to the remaining kidnappers last time you reported in.
Helen, the real mayor is unconscious at my feet, here in the facility building to the northwest of the wave pool. Whoever I saw in the marshalling area was very well disguised.
but after watching him for a couple of minutes, I knew he wasn't our mayor. That's one reason why, when Emily was back on her feet, we made our way back here.
You suspect that they may have just dumped him in that building, secured, and led the SSF on a pre-planned goose chase into the trap they'd laid for them?
And now that the trap is sprung, they are hightailing it out of here. As we already discussed, there's only one reason they would be so all-fired eager to get away, especially with the weather situation.
So why are you still there, Daniela? Why haven't you made a run for it yourself?
I've had a chance to discuss this with Emily, and we're both on the side of helping save hundreds, probably thousands of people inside this structure, along with the mall itself, if we can. We have a plan, and we're just hoping there's time to implement it.
All set, Daniela. Ready to roll.
I'll pass you to Emily to explain what we're doing, and hope to talk to you again when we have more information.
This is Emily McAllister, Sewston Security Organization, Special Forces. We may be a small task force, but I think Daniela's proven herself over the past hours, and we now have little choice but to act as a team. The other reason we came back into this area is that the SSF stun barrage was launched from here. We have another ready to go, this one using shock shells that breathing apparatus will not defend against. We're going to take down the kidnappers, this time for real. Then we're going to find the guy who gave the orders and subject him to the very latest mind scan systems. I can defuse the bombs. We just need to find them. Wish us luck. McAllister out.
Our field reporter, Miguel Sanchez, has been monitoring our broadcast since he was forced to flee with the local Jarlsberg population into the shelter of their town weather bunker. He's contacted us again to give us further news of the Zulu 11 assault from a storm's eye perspective. Miguel, how are you holding up down there?
Lana, this shelter, although well designed and supplied when originally constructed, has not been very well maintained. Shelter capacity is adequate for the population currently resident, but only just, as it has never actually been fully field tested in a real-life disaster situation. We are rapidly discovering its shortcomings. Inadequate accommodation and personal space, a very restrictive available food supply which is unable to cope with the needs of the various special diets of many of our number, medical supplies that are rudimentary at best, and a poorly thought-out organizational and management plan. All this on top of the fact that, of course, we are finding the storm's effects are severely damaging the morale of those here.
I'm surprised the town would not have been more prepared, Miguel, since you made it clear that they were indeed ready to evacuate when the storm began.
The procedure had been well ingrained into the town populace, Lana, with practice drills every 6 months or so, but it seems the emergency planners had not really taken the preparation seriously enough. There has, as I said, never been a full trial of the facility with more than 100 residents for over half an hour. It's showing the signs of this poor planning. Even the so-called independent power is intermittent at best, under this circumstance.
And the morale, Miguel. You mentioned people are not holding up well under the stresses of the storm's onslaught. What is it that's most affecting them?
I am sure you've started to experience similar issues in Sewston by now, Lana. But Zulu 11 has been tearing apart this town for hours now, and the finality of having lost everything is sinking in. In spite of the thickness of walls and depths below the surface, we can still hear the roar faintly at all times. The crash of heavy debris being tossed about, the thump and rumble as the earth trembles with major impact. Our door sensors indicate that the bunker is now more or less submerged, as the water finds its way down through the shattered remains of the town hall. And our internal, self-circulating and cleaning air and water systems, though functional, give everything a suspiciously clinical smell and taste that only reminds us of how vulnerable we all are, hiding down here in a hole and hoping we will see the sun again.
I understand how demoralizing this all must be, Miguel. As you've probably heard through our broadcast, we're doing all we can to give you that chance to once again stand and look up at the sky. I hope you have conveyed this to the town residents.
We are all listening to WRT, Lana. It's kind of our lifeline down here. Make sure you keep up the broadcast. We're relying on...
Miguel? Miguel, we appear to have lost your outgoing connection, but rest assured, we'll continue to be here for you, and all those in the Jarlsberg bunker. And we'll all get through this together.
We understand that Rick Allen was able to guide Danica and her family back to the WRAT secure garage over 20 minutes ago, but we had been unable to connect with him again, ourselves, until now. According to Rick, whatever task he has now taken on, we're going to want to hear it. Are those your words, Rick?
You bet, Helen. Bumpiest ride I ever did take. Trying to pilot this little craft up here in the winds. Had to be done, though. But I'm certainly glad they took my advice when they forked out the money for Hoverjet 1, Helen. Built-in active stabilization system, working overtime. And you can bet this would have been a really short flight today without it.
I'm beginning to feel more than my usual sense of trepidation, Rick, about where you are and what you're doing.
Any second now, Helen. And your trepidation meter will go off the scale. Target in sight. And I hope you're as ready as I think you are. I'll only get one clear shot at this. Then you're on your own. Incoming!